This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, there we go. He is ready to go. The man, the myth, the legend that is Anthony Chiang. How you doing, my man?
Doing good, Big O. How are you?
Very good, very good. You know, when we left you yesterday, we went and had a little lunch at a new place, and I don't know if you've been doing a lot of cruising around, but have you been to Sicky's Garage here in Las Vegas?
No. Where's that?
It's where you know where that shopping center is at, right off of Las Vegas Boulevard on I think it's the south end of the strip. Do you know where that's at?
Okay, I think so.
The Apple store is there. They got all
Yeah,
kinds. It's like a really cool place.
yeah.
Well, they've got a place called Sicky's Garage there, bro. That the food was awesome.
Very good. Awesome.
Awesome.
Good to know. It's good to
Yes,
know.
I'm telling you, I had a chicken parm sandwich yesterday there that was just absolutely phenomenal. You had what, the hot beef sandwich, I think it was called. And man, I tell you, Sicky's Garage. If you want to go somewhere to eat,
I
that's
have one more. I have one more day to head
very,
out there. Our trip
very
is coming to an
reasonable.
end.
Yeah,
That's
very
good.
reasonable price, by the way. It's not expensive or anything like that. So
Cool.
really good place, man. God, the food was really good yesterday. All right, so let's get into it a little bit. First of all, Jovic,
Mhm.
his injury just looks like it seemed like yesterday when we were with him, he's all right. It's not like a
Yeah,
serious thing overall. It's just, being skinny and not carrying a lot of meat. You're going to get banged up a little bit in this league.
yeah. I mean, he said he had knee in the quad, so a quad contusion. He didn't practice yesterday. They didn't rule him out for today's game, but you'd have to imagine he didn't practice yesterday. They might keep him out just to be safe, right? I mean, it's summer league, especially with the back-to-back tomorrow. Maybe you keep him out today and have him play tomorrow. So we'll see if he's able to play. But the fact they didn't practice yesterday and tomorrow there's another game, I wouldn't be surprised if he's held out today.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Talk to me a little bit about Orlando Robinson. What have you seen from him? What do you like? What are you concerned about?
Um, First of all, he's really skilled. Basically, I mean, I think he's right under 7 feet. So basically, a 7-footer with, like, I think a 7'4" wingspan. So he has the measurables, he has the size. He hit, as his college career went on at Fresno State, he hit more and more threes. He was a pretty good 3-point shooter last year in college. Hasn't shown that part of his game in summer league because the Heat are obviously using him as a inside presence. So I guess we'll start there. He's a skilled player. He could pass the ball. You can run offense through him. He can hit mid-range 3-point, jumpers, which is good for a 7-footer, for a guy his size. The concern with him when kind of doing some research on him has always been his athleticism. He is not athletic. I mean, well, he is athletic. He plays basketball, but compared to others, he's just not. That's not his strength. I think he had one of the lowest verts in the combine, or in the pre-draft, one of the pre-draft combines. And he's admitted as much. We talked to him. I think you were there, Big O. We talked to him yesterday at practice, and he was saying, yeah, that's always been something that I've had to work on. I know I have to get better at it. Some of it is just, getting stronger, strengthening my base. But, it is what it is. Like, he's never going to be the most athletic guy. It's just about trying to maximize what he can get out of his body. So I think that's the concern is, will his lack of athleticism kind of hurt his chances of being a real, a consistent rotation level NBA player?
Well, I mean, some people think he could challenge Yurtseven. I kind of think he's behind Yurt right now. How do you
Sure.
see it?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Yurtseven, he played when he got NBA minutes last year. He was sensational.
He was good,
He
man.
was
Good
putting up
rebounder.
in dominant rebounding numbers. So just the rebounding alone, that's something you can't teach. We saw it even in summer league last year. And Yurtseven, what did he average in summer league? 20 and like 12, right? I mean, Orlando Robinson's been good, but he's not averaging 20 and 12 in summer league. So I would say definitely Omer is ahead of Orlando at this point.
What are they expecting from Omer? What are they? Because when we talked to what was it, Orlando, He was talking about how, the other day, it wasn't yesterday, it was a couple days ago when we were talking to him. He was talking about how they have him focused more. It was right after the game, more on the inside part of the
Sure.
game, not the outside for the 3-point shooting. And I think it's because of what you said. They want to get him more fundamentally sound around the basket and more physical and rebounding and all of those things before they work his game out. Whereas for Yurt, I would imagine that Yurtseven's goal this year is to try to fine tune that offensive game, whether it is around the post or 16, plus feet away.
Yeah, I agree. I think Orlando right now, they don't want him to think too much and
Right.
ask him to do too much, right? So just be a traditional center, score around the basket, do what you can in the paint. He has that as part of the game, a 3-point shot, so that's good that it's there. But the Heat aren't asking him to do that right now. With Omer, honestly, like last year, he took a few threes in summer league, but it was almost the same thing. He really didn't take that many threes. And then this last season in the NBA, he took, I think, 11 threes total. So they weren't asking him to shoot 3-pointers, even though he could. Omer, we've seen it. Omer's a pretty good shooter. He has good mechanics, and he can hit them. But this year, I mean, I would think they would want him to take more, especially if they're going to ask him to play with Bam more, right? Because we all know there's a hole at power forward. I guess Caleb Martin right now would probably be slotted as a starter, but because of how thin they are at that position, there is a chance that Omer and Bam could play a lot more minutes together this year if this is the roster they move forward with. And if Omer plays with Bam, we know Bam isn't shooting threes at this point. Omer is probably ahead of Bam when it comes to the 3-point shot. One of them is going to have to make at least take threes and be a threat to space the floor.
Right.
It'll probably be Omer. So if that is the plan, to play Omer with Bam a little bit more, I would think 3-point shots are going to be a bigger part of Omer's game this season.
Yeah, because you have to understand that Jimmy and Bam aren't really 3-point shooters.
No.
So then all of a sudden now now there's more pressure on the other three guys to be really good in that area. So that's why if you're going to put another big man out there, he's got to be able to shoot. Now, on the flip side, there's a lot of guards here in this summer league. And there's, you got some big guards like Highsmith, and you got smaller guards too. But when I look at that team right now, the Heat, where they're at with their guard position, what's the realistic number out of any of these guys to get any playing time? Possibly one?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm thinking Highsmith might be that guy because of the physical nature that he brings to the game. He's 6'7". He's a big guard / like forward in a way. I can see him adding, an element to the game overall. But when you look at all these guys, who's the guy that might end up cracking some part of the rotation? Let's put it that way.
I think the one guy that could get some consistent minutes this year is Highsmith. And it's not, and I would say it would be a power forward. To me, he's a power forward in today's NBA. He's like 6'7", 6'8", long wingspan, big body, kind of could play that quote-unquote PJ Tucker role. Guys have compared him to PJ Tucker this summer because he does little things. He's not like a flashy player, but you look up at his the box score and he has 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Right? Like it's like, whoa, when did that happen? He's been impressive to me. He's been consistently solid. He looks to me like you can kind of tell when a guy looks like an NBA player in summer league. Like Max Strus last year, he jumped out. Like you couldn't miss it. Like he belonged in the NBA. Highsmith to me kind of has that feel. Like he looks like an NBA player to me. He's under control, plays at his own pace. So I think he's the guy, especially because they need guys to contribute minutes at that position at power forward. So I think he'll get a real chance to play this season. The guard, they do have a lot of guards. You're right, Big O. But the guard I would say that probably has the best chance, maybe finding a role on this team if there's injuries or if there's a trade and they need bodies, is Marcus Garrett. You talked with him after the game a few days ago. He has an elite NBA skill. Like that guy you put him on the court right now, he could be a lockdown perimeter defender. That's no question. Like he is a great, great on-ball defender. Probably would be one of the best on-ball defenders on the roster right now. The question with him is always offense. Can he do enough offensively? That's always been the question. We still don't know, right? I mean, he had one good game in summer league. We'll see, obviously, if he gets invited to training camp and if he spends time with the Heat next year, if his offensive game has grown. But just with his defense alone, I think there's a role for him in the NBA, and there could be a role for him with the Heat.
Yeah, he is Briante Weber part 2.
Kind of, yeah.
If he can
Yeah.
figure out the offense, then he'll stick. If he can't figure out the offense, then obviously that'll be a detriment to him because it's funny because a guy like that could survive in the 90s. You could bring
Yeah.
him off the bench as a defensive specialist and all that. But in today's game, if your offensive game is too weak, it's just you're too much of a liability. And it's funny because it's just like defense isn't that okay. It's important, but it's not important to the point that okay, yeah, we'll take you even though you can't play offense.
Right.
No, that's going to be a problem in this league. All right. I saw Barry Jackson reporting, but you're here, and so I'm here, and so I kind of laugh about it. He reported that Sean Marks and Andy
Right.
Ellisberg had a meal, but dude, go on social media. Sean Marks and Palinka everywhere. You know what
Right.
I mean? Sitting over here, standing over there
Yeah.
with Woj over here. Different shots. Sean Marks with Masai Ujiri.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
shit. It's like, and again, Sean Marks played for the Heat,
Right.
so they could be just talking as friends. It may not be anything serious. Now there may be something to it, but I didn't want to make it sound the way it kind of sounded in the report, like, oh, Sean Marks, and let's also look around. They've got Sean Marks with everyone else. Every
Right.
time he's talking to somebody else, somebody's taking a pick from that specific beat, which, by the way, I haven't seen a James Jones Sean Marks, which tells me that's the trade that's going to happen.
Right. Right.
Because we're
Exactly.
watching all the other ones.
Because they're being conspicuous about it. They're not eating at a restaurant in a major hotel in Las Vegas, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you see how it is here, Big O. Like, there's NBA people everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible not to run into somebody anywhere you go in Las Vegas this week. So yeah, I mean, I think it is interesting that obviously they were sharing a meal together. But like you said, we don't know the context around it, right? Could
Right.
Durant have come up? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right, between the two of them. But they also have a past, like you said. Sean Marks, a former Heat player. Andy Ellisberg helped sign him to the Heat.
Right.
I'm sure they're friends. So there's a lot there that I think it's interesting, but I don't want to make too much of it.
Yeah. Jesse M says move Bam to the 4. Bam gets better every year, and he's only 24. He's too small to play center, i.e. Embiid. First of all, there's only one or two Embiids. There's only one Embiid in the world, but there aren't guys like that anyways that you have to defend night in and night out.
Right.
And two, I would say to Jesse M, and I don't know if you agree with me, when he starts to become really good at a 3-point shot, then maybe you can move him to 4. But outside of that, you can't move him to 4 if you're not a stretch 4. And if you're not gonna and Yurtseven, what are you gonna do? Put him at center, but yet his offensive game is not there either? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yurtseven doesn't have a post game, and he doesn't have a consistent outside game yet. So what are you gonna do? None of that really makes sense. Does it make sense to you?
I always have said I think Bam is a 5. I know people want to push him to a 4, but I think he's a 5 in today's NBA. He scores he's in the paint. He lives in the paint. He does most of his work in the paint. To get him to play as a 4, then you're saying you're playing a 7-footer and Bam, who is 6'10" or 6'9", but plays like a center. That doesn't work in today's NBA.
Nope.
These two big lineups. I mean, that just doesn't work in today's NBA. So I think Bam is a 5 in the modern game.
Yep. All right. So what are you hearing anything on the Durant front? Just out of curiosity, because we had Iron yesterday, and he asked me, "Would you trade Bam, Tyler, and 2 first-rounders for Durant?" I said, "In a heartbeat, I would do that. In a heartbeat, I would do that because you're giving me that other star next to Jimmy. You can fill out the rest of the roster and figure things out, but you give me that other star next to Jimmy." And if I'm keeping some of the other guys, because if I'm giving away those guys, well, then I still have Strus. I still have, Duncan that can shoot. I still have Kyle Lowry running the offense. I can use Yurtseven. I don't need his offense nearly as much with Durant and Jimmy Butler and Kyle and Strus and some of these other guys. And I expect Caleb to become a bigger part of what's going on this year. I think you can fill out everything else. Would you make that trade if it's Bam, Tyler, and 2 first-rounders?
I don't know. I think if I'm the Heat, I do everything I can to pull off this trade without Bam and Jimmy, if that's even possible.
Right.
I just.
But what is
And
real?
I also think Kevin Durant, one of the reasons he wants to come to the Heat is to play with Bam and Jimmy. I really do. And I think that's what makes this whole situation complicated. The Nets want the world for KD, right? As they should. But then KD doesn't want to go to a team that's gutted. So
I get that, but what's the world without Bam in it? What is a realistic? Don't give me those fan trades that I get on the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll give Duncan Robinson 4 first-rounders and Caleb, and they'll give us Durant.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, no. It's
not
the best. So
the best you could do.
Bam, give me a realistic trade for Durant.
It would have to be Kyle, Duncan, Tyler. If they want a couple of the young players like Gabe or Max or Omer, you include them in there. You give them 3 first-round picks if you amend the protections on the OKC trade and 3 pick swaps. That's the most they could do. 3 pick swaps, 3 first-round picks, Tyler, Kyle, Duncan, and a sweetener if they really like one of the Heat's young players, Jovic or Omer or Max. So that's the best they could do.
You can't trade Jovic anyways.
You can't trade for 30 days, but it's been almost a week already, and they could agree to the trade. And like Wiggins, when LeBron went back to the Cavs, they traded Wiggins after signing him, and they had to just wait for it to become official. So it could be done. It's just it delays the process. So that's kind of, I think, the offer I would make if I was the Heat and try to it doesn't seem like anybody's meeting what the Nets want, right? So if you wait it out and Durant really wants to go to Miami or Phoenix, if those are the 2 teams he's really only considering, then he'd have some leverage. So to me, that's where I would be right now if I was Miami.
All right, good stuff. What are you working on in the Herald so folks can check you out, my friend?
Well, obviously, we're keeping tabs on everything Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell and all that stuff, but it just seems like things have quieted down a little bit for now. But we have all the Summer League coverage you need. Features on all these guys that maybe you don't know about. Game coverage. Today we'll have a story from the game against the Hawks at 7 p.m. in Las Vegas. So just check MiamiHerald.com for all your Las Vegas Summer League coverage.
There you go. And we'll see him this afternoon. Well, it's this evening for you at 7 o'clock. The Heat on the Hawks. We will be here watching it. Anthony, myself, Sean, Ira, all the contingent that's out here covering the Heat Summer League and the NBA. It'll be at 4 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock your time. So we'll keep you updated on everything else going on. Anthony, we'll catch up later on in the week, my friend. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for taking some time.
See you later today, Big O. Thank you.
You got it. There you go. Anthony Chiang with our liquor split matchup of the night. What happened to this guy? What happened now? Here we go. All right, there we go. All right, so that is Anthony Chiang in our liquor split matchup of the night.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.